Hi, I hope you're all doing well and the writing is going well, or the creativity is flourishing. I'm feeling a lot better, by the way, since the last video. The last video was a bit of a disaster because I was just not doing so well. I am doing much better, for those who have asked. Thank you so much for asking. Today, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of writers and creatives go through. That is finding the inspiration in the mundane. You see, a lot of people take their daily routines as just that routine, whether walking the dog, making yourself a fresh cup of coffee, brushing your teeth, running for the bus, getting your car ready in the morning, going to work, that journey to work. To a lot of people, it's very, very mundane, it's very boring. A lot of people do feel that it kills any spark of creativity. However, what if there was a way you could find some magic in that moment? You see, where a lot of people see mundane chores and just the basic day-to-day life, I see creativity, I see inspiration, I see a world full of ideas, and I see lots of intrigue as well. So what you have to do is learn to find the inspiration and the magic in your day-to-day living, because if you don't learn to do that, you get into a habit of not being able to create anything or not finding a creative spark in your day-to-day life. And what you need to do is break away from that pattern of thinking. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to be like that. I used to sit on the bus and just wallow and get a bit depressed on my way to work because my job at the time pushed any creativity out of the way. But I was working in a very high pressure financial environment, and it was not the healthiest environment to be in. So unless you're in environments like that where you're not allowed any form of a self-expression, then it'll be fairly easy, I believe, to find the inspiration and the magic in your daily rituals. So what you have to do, I believe, first of all, is start with your daily rituals. Start with the rituals that give you comfort. I know some people have to have that cup of tea. Some people have to do some yoga, stretches. Some, they love the smell of coffee in the morning. Some people like to smell some cinnamon, apple cinnamon, or some of the spices in their drinks. Some people go for a jog. You have to do the daily rituals that serve you, because by doing the daily rituals that serve you, you go into a form of relaxation. And then once you start doing the daily rituals that serve you, you then have to be in a relaxed frame of mind. In that relaxed frame of mind, that is when the magic starts to seep into your consciousness. It starts to just filter in because you're very, very relaxed. I would never go into work, if I was still working in a high profile environment, I would never go into work without following some sort of daily ritual where I either have to do yoga or jogging, even cycling. Cycling is such a great stress reliever. If you're not a cyclist, that's great. Skating, if you don't like any high impact sports, go for a walk. Take your dogs out for a walk. You have to find time first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, to form those daily rituals, because I believe that's when you allow the magic and the creativity to come in, because those rituals let you relax and they allow you to lower your defenses and allow any inspiration or creative spark to come in. You have to have a creative sanctuary as well. A creative sanctuary is somewhere where you can be safe, you can sit and you can just write, you can draw, you can sketch, and your ideas flow freely. Now, believe it or not, when I got comfortable with commuting to work, and I was always on the bus. It was a 31 bus when I lived in London. I'll never forget it. It was a 31 bus, and I used to get on it at Swiss Cottage. it was amazing because I would sit on the bus. I always made sure I got a seat, so I'd get on very early. I'd always get a seat. I'd sit down and I'd open up my notebook, and I always had a notebook and pen with me. Now, a lot of people thought that was very strange because as human beings, we're so not accustomed to writing anything down anymore. We've lost the magic and the beauty behind writing. But I like to write, and I would sit there and I would write my ideas down. I would maybe draw a few images of something that inspired me. And as I sat there and I looked around and I wrote my ideas down and I sketched a few things, my mind would begin to clear itself of the clutter, and all the ideas, I would put them down onto the page. Because one thing I find is once you get an idea, you have to be very, very careful, and you have to be very conscious about putting it down somewhere, making a note of it, whether it's a notepad, a voice recorder, typing it, whatever's the quickest, most effective way for you. Because once you get into work, once you walk into your bakery, your business, wherever your point of self-employment is, those ideas are going to be gone, and it's going to be very, very hard to get that magical moment again. So get used to having something small, something light that you can quickly record, and something that you can just pop out and slip away. Obviously, phones are always handy to have because phones, we all have them. They're always at our disposal, and they don't look like suspicious objects at work, so no one thinks that you're writing anything about them or anything of that sort. People are used to seeing other people on their phones now, so you can discreetly put your notes down if you are that type of person. I much preferred a notepad and a pen, so unfortunately when I was walking into work, people always found that a bit odd. When I would sit down during lunch and make some notes, people found that odd. When I wanted to go away for lunch on my own or sit alone at lunch on my own with my notepad and pen, a lot of people found that a bit disconcerting, but that was more their issue than mine. They were just not comfortable with people writing around them, because I think there's a lot of suspicion around, were you taking secret notes about me, that sort of thing. So people are quite paranoid these days, but just make a note of that. I was comfortable with that because I was very accustomed to a notepad and a pen. So you have to have your sanctuary, and you have to have your sanctuary whether it's at work or at home. At home, it's easier to have a sanctuary. You can have a little corner table and a chair in the corner of your bedroom. Anything that gets you into the mood for writing, you have to have it. But once you're out there in the world and you're on your way to work, on the commute, on the way to work, on the commute back, get accustomed to just blocking out the world, sitting comfortably, staring out the window. There's nothing better than looking out the window and daydreaming as the buses go past, or you're driven around in a car or whatever, because that is where the thoughts filter in. But what you have to be very conscious of is actually recording those thoughts down, because they're very, very fleeting. Because once you have one thought, another fills the space, and another comes in, and you could have had, 25 minutes, I don't know how long your commute is, 25 minutes worth of wonderful ideas that you've just banished and you've just gotten rid of entirely. In terms of a creative sanctuary, I used to like dealing with the paperwork and filing at work. Now, a lot of people didn't like that because they found it boring. I loved filing papers away. I loved organizing stuff, especially when I was dealing with paperwork and files and old rooms and folders. But unfortunately, because I worked in finance, we had people who did that for us, so that wasn't my role, but I liked to volunteer to do it, so they always liked me doing it because I was always so keen. But one thing they didn't realize was the mundane tasks. When I did those tasks, I was always in a quiet room by myself. It was always a quiet, peaceful room. There'd be background music playing, and there'd be thousands of folders, perhaps hundreds. And I would just sit there and I would daydream, and it would be amazing because I could daydream as I did all the filing, because these were such mundane tasks. They were such simple tasks. I would just start doing them and bingo. because I was not having to interact with anyone, we weren't talking, there was nothing interrupting my thought process, I had some amazing ideas that I've never forgotten, and I've still got recorded till today. Now, I know a lot of us like going about our day when we're not at work, whether going grocery shopping, going to the laundromat if you don't have a washing machine at home, having everyday conversations with people, having those little interactions with people that you see along the road. Like, for example, today I went to walk my dogs by the beach, and it was extremely hot here at the moment, so it's very tropical weather, and it was like, but my dogs were in the shade, so don't worry. And as I was walking them by the beach, I observed this man, and he was walking sort of ahead of me, but to the side, and I was watching him. And in those few minutes of watching him, with the waves crashing and silence all around us, I started to form a story around this man. And as I went past him, he sort of looked at me and he was like, hello, and I was like, oh, good afternoon. And it was a very nice interaction, and he was very polite. And as I walked further on, I thought about him a bit more, sort of made an entire scenario around him in my head. So you need to take all these little interactions you have with people, especially people who might look a bit unique or might inspire something in you. Use the interactions. It doesn't mean that you're taking advantage of the people. They are just inspiring your work, and in a positive way, and that to me is an amazing thing, and they'd be very pleased that they were acting as a source of inspiration. So use all these little interactions, such as walking your dogs, doing your day-to-day chores, your day-to-day errands, because this is where you see the world all around you, and this is where you can have all this inspiration coming in, because you're seeing all these interactions and seeing all these different people. They have face shapes, different hairs, different skin tones, different skin colors, and you don't have to do much to get inspiration because it's all there, it's all around you. I've gotten a new character idea for my Heathens series, and this character idea I got was from someone I randomly met on a plane. He was a very charming young man, and we were on the plane. It was a very brief interaction. He just walked past and he looked at me and he smiled politely because I was sort of, my bags were in his way, and that was it. In that scenario, I just wrote a few notes down. I had his name, and I started to sketch an entire background. So I started to build his profile in the Heathens world. So take advantage of all these little things, because they really do help in terms of inspiration and in terms of getting new ideas and helping you with your mental state of mind. Also, the everyday conversations you have, now this is where it can get really interesting. They can help you with different voices and how people engage and dialogue as well, because I will tell you, when I was writing the Coat series, I wrote it in a very particular way, and then when I went on to write the Dwellers Beneath the Arches series, the Dwellers Beneath the Arches has people from very different social backgrounds, but initially I was writing all the characters in a very, I would say, middle class way, so the speech was very middle class. But then that was, I wrote that when I was younger, of course, and then as I got older and I started to go into work and see how the real world interacted and listen to different speech patterns and different accents. Even in like a city like London, you have different accents. You have the Cockney accent, you have the the Essex accent. You have all these different accents. I started to realise that actually not everyone in London had a middle class or upper middle class accent. They were actually very varied, and it taught me to use the right dialogue for my characters. And it was very important. But I had to have that exposure to different types of people to gain that information and to learn about how people really spoke. So it's very important. Finally, I would say, as you go about your day-to-day life, learn to be grateful for your creativity. Learn to be grateful that you want to be creative. Learn to be grateful that you have a creative spark. A lot of people are still trying to find that spark. A lot of people have had that spark dampened within them. I know people whose parents told them, you can't write, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to go into a more serious profession, you have to do this, you have to do that. And they've had to sort of crush that side of them, and they've had to just sweep it away and pretend that it doesn't exist. And I cannot tell you how damaging that is to the psyche. So I would say, as you go about your life and you have all these creative struggles and you have all these, writer's block, and maybe avoiding a piece of work, too many words, not enough words, or you can't get the right word, be grateful that you are in that state of mind, because at least you have that. A lot of people don't have that, and still to this day a lot of the arts, particularly writing, are still looked down upon, because unless you're a big bestseller in the in the top 10 US bestseller, whatever country you are in, it's looked down upon. Even though a lot of authors now are earning very well, it's still looked down upon. So I would say, if you have that creative spark, be grateful that you do. Be grateful if the people around you, your family, your kids, your partners, your parents, your siblings, if they support you, that's fantastic. And even if they don't, that's fine as well. Just keep creating. Learn to reconnect with the joy of creation. Learn to reconnect with that wild part of you that doesn't know what you're going to put down when you sit down at your desk, or when you want to put something down. That is where your gift truly lies, because you are trusting the process and you are trusting yourself to bring out a piece of work, to bring out a chapter, to produce something very unique to the world that no one else has ever done. So you do have to be grateful for that. You do have to show up for yourself. You have to show up for your creativity, and you have to be present for your creativity as well. You can't ignore it, because I think if you do ignore it, that is to your detriment as a person. And finally, you have to embrace the magic. Definitely, you have to embrace the magic that is within, and welcome it, and rest peacefully within it, and do a little bit every day, because that is how you start to create greater work. That is how you finish that book, that short story, that anthology. That is how you create all these books and all this work that you want to see. You have to let the creativity come forth and just embrace all the magic that comes with it. I hope this video has helped, and it's not too long. And if you have any comments, please do let me know. Thank you. Goodbye.